Welcome back, everybody. Orange Track Outlaws again, and today we are going to tackle the Beefeaters pre-1970s sports car. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a 1969 Pontiac GTO Judge. What a cool looking car. Very cool car in person. For real life actually, but real cool casting here too. I think I got a pretty cool plan for this, and this is going to be my first Beefeaters challenge here. I hope it goes well. Hope you guys enjoy it. Got some big plans here for this car. A lot of changes, paint job, interior, wheels, pretty much the whole works on here. I'm even going to put a new spoiler on the back because I didn't like that one that's on there. But anyway, let's get started. Here's our car, our '69 Pontiac GTO Judge. This thing's got some issues. It's an older car. Not a lot fancy here going on with it, but we're gonna get started here, taking this thing apart. I'm gonna drill the posts and get it apart, see what we got to work with, see what the inside looks like. You could already see that the interior had that chrome plate. That's definitely gonna go away. We're probably just going to turn this thing black, maybe a little details. We're going to detail the base a little bit. We've got a pretty cool paint job planned. I've got some pretty cool wheels that got picked out for this guy too. This thing's going to look pretty sharp, I think, when it's done. I think you're really going to like it. But we just about got our post drilled off here. As soon as we get our little rings popped off there, we'll be able to pop this thing apart with our little screwdriver and see what we got to work with here. So getting this guy apart, like I said earlier, it has that terrible chrome plated interior which I can't stand. That'll be going away. But we got a plastic chassis here. This thing's kind of old. It's got some rusted axles, so those things will be cut out and going away. We got the chrome plated interior. That's going to go in the super clean here soon. The windshield's going to need a good cleaning, possibly a polishing. And we got our body here. This thing's going to get stripped down in the sandblaster. I'm going to get some new paint on it. So, fresh out of the sandblast, this is what she looks like. It does. It's got that little sandblast haze to it. We're gonna jump in the wire wheel box here and get all that taken off. Get this thing nice and cleaned up and get ready for our next step here. Shouldn't take too awful long. The sandblaster really took pretty good care of this thing. Didn't have to. It wasn't. This casting really wasn't fighting too hard on it, which is nice. Sometimes it does take a little while, but some of the more older cars are a little bit more worn out. Sandblaster makes quick work with them. Sometimes you got to use the aircraft cleaner or the citrus strip, but a lot of times I try not to if we don't have to. It's a lot less cleanup and whatnot by using the sandblaster. So anyway, we're gonna just about done here with our wire wheel, getting all the nooks and crannies here cleaned up and see what we got to work with. I said earlier I'm going to do a new spoiler on the back. This thing's all molded in and you can't see through it, and I really don't like that. But here's a quick look at our body here right off the wire wheel. So I went ahead and I cut the spoiler off, and I bent a new piece with some styrene. You can see it there on the back. It's you can see through it now. I think it looks a little bit better from the last one, being though you can see through it. It is missing a little bit, like the little supports and whatnot, but it was so shallow and I didn't think it needed to go in there. But I think it definitely looks better than the mold molded already into the casting. So we're ready for some primer here. We'll put our flat black primer. This thing, actually one of the better primers I've been using here is this flat black. It's really done well. So we've got our first coat down. We're going to work on a second coat here. There really wasn't a lot of problems with the body, so you don't have to go on real thick and cover and coat it out. But we're just going to make good coverage here with our second coat, and hopefully that'll be enough. So we'll be able to move on to some color there. We'll have to let her dry, see how it looks. So I think we're going to be good to go here. We're going to start moving on to some color. Since that was flat black primer, and we're going to go with some candy paint here in a little bit. I really want this to pop, so I'm going to put a coat or two of some opaque black on there to kind of brighten the flat black up a little bit before we put our next step on, before we can start putting some color. So basically this is just a nice, easy, even, quick coat of opaque black. I'm just trying to liven up the black color a little bit. I wasn't sure how our next color was going to go on, which is going to be the chrome, the Createx chrome. So I wanted it to pop as best as possible, so that's why I'm going to put in the opaque black. I probably could have put could have went with some gloss black, but I didn't. But anyway, no big deal. The opaque black is still pretty shiny. We're gonna cover it up with the chrome anyway before we go candy. So I think 2 coats of that opaque black should be good. As long as we got good coverage, nice and even, I think we'll be set. So step 2 here is our Quicksilver Chrome from Createx. Really cool color here. I've been doing these a lot. It's perfect for the candy. What we're gonna do here is go really light coats, high air, a lot of air, and light on the color, and just keep going back and forth real light, moving the car around, try to get full coverage. This stuff dries really fast, so you don't really have to wait very long. So if you keep moving it, it'll dry, and you can pretty much just keep rolling with this first coat, keep moving it around until you get the saturation point, I guess, that you're looking for. And you know, basically just want to get everything covered. And you know, obviously the goal is to get this thing looking, you know, as shiny chrome as possible before we go laying our color on. So just keep moving it around and keep spraying paint nice and light. It does, if you just go full blast with the airbrush on higher pressure, it tends to look more like kind of like a brushed aluminum, I guess, as opposed to, you know, shiny chrome. So if you go nice and light and do a lot of coats and keep turning it and painting it, you'll get the result that you're really looking for here. So I think this thing is looking pretty good. You can see it's starting to look like chrome. So let that dry, which won't take too long. We'll be able to move on to a little bit of color here, which what we're going to start off with is some Candy Grabber Orange. And we're going to put a little 40-30 in there for some flow, a little 40-12 and reduce a little bit. And we're going to get the paint in here. As usual with our first color of candy is nice tack coat. Nice light first tack coat. Get full coverage here. We want to go nice and light. You don't really have to start laying it on yet. Let this dry. Let it tack up a little bit and give the rest of your coats something to stick to here. So Grabber Orange, really cool color. First coat, you know, like I said, nice and light. I think we got it pretty well covered there. So we're gonna move on. I'm looking for a real dark, rich orange. The thought process here behind this is I was wondering what the color I wanted to paint this car, and looking online, and the coolest ones I've seen were either red or orange. So my idea was, let's try to do both. So I'm going to paint this guy, you know, all orange for the whole car, and then I'm going to come in here once I'm done layering up the orange, and I'm going to put a blood red fade on the lower half all the way around the car and try to fade it up into an orange. So it's not going to be a real contrasting fade, but it should look cool from blood red orange to the bottom to blood red from the bottom up to the Grabber Orange to the top. So now we're going to move on, and we're going to do that. We're going to take our blood red just like we did the Grabber Orange, add some 40-30, add some 40-12, and we're going to try to fade this thing up right about almost all the way up the door, basically about halfway up the car. But it's gonna be in probably up to like the door handle or so. So I'm gonna shoot this thing at probably about 40-45 degrees or less, and start at the bottom and try to get it layered up and faded up. I really want to see that blood red on the bottom half of the door panels and fenders, and then I want to fade up and I want to see that orange, you know, going up towards the pillars and the roof. So that's the plan. I think this thing's going to look super sharp once it's all said and done. I do have some tampos to put on here to kind of set it all off in the end. We'll get to that point here, but we want to make sure we get our blood red put on here. So possibly could have just painted the orange on top and left the chrome on the bottom, and then got the red red right on the chrome and worked on my fade there. I think that would have got more of that blood red, that rich red color on the bottom, more than I got here the way I did it. But I figured the red over the orange, it still should look pretty good. It wasn't really as red as I thought it was gonna be, but it still turned out pretty good. Maybe next time I just won't do full coverage with the first color on the car and try to fade it that way, but this is how we're doing it. I think it's going to turn out just fine. So we got our paint done here. I did put a little bit of detail on it, and we did hit it with 2 coats of the 2K clear just to get her started there. And you can see it does fade pretty good. It's, you know, orange on the top and, you know, red down the sides, and it does fade pretty good. So I think it turned out good. So what we're going to do, I put a couple coats of clear on so we can work on our tampos now and put those on so they won't ruin the paint job. So what I had here was some tampos for a 164 slot car, and they weren't perfect as far as fitment goes, and they may not go in the exact places, you know, like a real car is going to have it, but may do with what I had, and I think it's going to turn out pretty awesome. So I got the Judge decals there, putting on the back quarter panel. I'm going to get those all put down nice and flat here with my Q-tip, and try to get some of that water up. And I know usually on the Judges they had some stripes that went over each fender well, but since the tampos I had for this weren't for this car specifically, and they're for a slot car, which must have been a little bit bigger than this car, which you'll see here in a second, I couldn't use both of them because it was just they were too big and it was too much. So what I did was I was going to take the bigger one and put it over the first the front quarter panel, and slope it back towards the door. I think it's going to turn out pretty sweet. So once I get this guy in the water, you'll be able to see here me putting it on, and I think it actually does the car, you know, a lot of justice here. I don't think it needs both of them, being as though this thing is so big. But I think these decals are really gonna pop with the paint job, and I think it's gonna make this thing look killer. Later on when I show you the reveal, I think you're gonna agree. But pretty straightforward here with the decals. You know, soak them in some warm water for 10-15 seconds or so, or a little longer if you have to, and after you trim them to fit, and then basically you know, slide them off there and smooth them out with Q-tip and try to get all the water up, and you should be good to go. So just about got all this guy done. You see here, I'll put the decals on the other side, and then I'll give you a little bit of a close-up. And once the decals are dry, I'll let them sit overnight, and I'll come back in and probably go for another 2 coats of some more 2K clear, and get the decals all sealed up, get this thing all nice and shiny, and give it a couple days or so to dry, and then we'll get this thing all put back together. I did pick some pretty cool Real Rider wheels from a wheel swap. I think I think you're gonna agree that they're gonna set off with the car. Was a little unsure about them because I'm big on the chrome rims and whatnot, and I had a set of chrome Real Riders picked out for this car. But then I looked in the big pile of the wheels that I had, and I seen some gold ones on Real Riders, and I put those up underneath the car to test the fit, and I thought they looked sweet. The gold really kind of flows with the red and that grabber orange candy, so that's what I went with, which the gold wheels. And I did. I had the bumpers, had those chromed out to start, and I backtracked and coated those with some candy gold also to make them match the wheels. And shortly here, when we go for go for the reveal, I think you're gonna agree it's gonna look sweet. But there's a little close up of the decals. I think they're just just that little extra bit to set this car off, and this thing's gonna be awesome. So I'm gonna let that dry. We got everything coated up here. You can take a look at my new chassis here. I got my gold Real Riders on there. It looks sweet. I did chrome out the exhaust underneath there. I did take the interior and stripped all the chrome off of that with the super clean. I painted the rear bumper gold also. And here's a look at our finished body after our clear coats, or extra clear coat, sealing it up over the tampos there. You look at the thing, is super shiny. That orange is popping. If you look down the side, it fades to the blood red. I got the front grills all blacked out. I got the lights detailed and everything. So we're gonna go ahead and put this bad boy back together so we can get a good look at it. So pretty straightforward here. Put everything back together. I know I didn't show you guys, which I rarely do, show you drilling my posts out and tapping them. And I know if you watch some of my other videos, I don't do a lot of tapping there anymore. I found the self-tapping screws to be easier and pretty effective. So that's pretty much what I do. And I go ahead and I don't drill the posts before I go through the sandblaster, because all that sand gets up in there. It's a real pain. So after I get it sandblasted and after I get it all cleaned off with the wire wheel, then I'll go back and I'll drill the post out before I start painting. So like I said, we'll put our self-tapping screws in here, get this car back together, and be able to show you how this thing ended up, which in my opinion is sweet. The camera, the angles and the lighting really aren't going to do this car justice. I'm going to do the best I can here on the reveal, but this thing is just super shiny. I would love to see this thing in real life up close, because it would be kick-ass. So just about got this guy together, and we're going to take a quick step back and see what we started with here. This is our lime green, a little bit beat up, but it's just the stock Hot Wheels 69 Pontiac GTO Judge. Overall, very cool car, especially when they're brand new. They did come in convertible also, but I really wanted the hood on this one to make the color pop. And I think we really succeeded in the goal here. Here's what we ended up with. This is our candy GTO Judge. It's got candy blood red on the bottom, faded up to the candy grabber orange. It's got a new customer spoiler. It's got some gold Real Riders. It's got the gold rear bumper. So just, I can't say enough about this car. This thing's badass. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'd like to thank the Beefeaters for opening up these invitationals. This should be fun. I'm gonna join a handful of other ones, and not to mention all the Three Blind Mice guys. Check those out. I got a handful of those coming out too. Check out the races if you're into that kind of thing. I'd appreciate it. I do have some other customs that I'm waiting to post here. I got some similar stuff, some older muscle cars. I do have some movie themed stuff coming out. So keep a lookout for some of that stuff, guys. And thanks again for tuning in. I hope you watched it. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like what you see. And keep an eye out for some of the new stuff. And I'll see you next time. Thanks again.